Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive. Today we're going to be doing something a little different. We're going to be looking at vocabulary.
Yeah, that's right. We're going to be looking at the vocabulary that is the foundation of English. It's going to be fun.
So we're going to be talking about words that everyone knows and uses every day, but we're going to go deeper.
Yes, we're going to be looking at the hidden depths of these words, looking at how they're used, the nuances of their meanings, and all that sort of thing.
And we're basing this deep dive off of a great episode from English Chat with Emma and Jack.
Yes, Emma and Jack go through a bunch of common words, and we're going to be adding to their discussion to help you improve your English vocabulary.
Exactly. So let's jump right in. Emma and Jack start with the word happy, and of course everyone knows the word happy. They define it as feeling good or pleased, and they give the example of, I am happy because today is a beautiful day.
Yes. But, well, that's a pretty straightforward definition. I think it's interesting to consider all the different shades of happy. It's not always, sunshine and rainbows. What about a quiet contentment or the satisfaction of achieving a goal?
Yeah, that's a great point. It makes you realize how much we rely on context and tone to convey the specific kind of happy we're feeling.
Exactly. And think about the synonyms that Emma and Jack mentioned, joyful and glad. Each of those words has a slightly different emotional weight. Joyful have a sense of exuberance and celebration, while glad is more about relief or satisfaction.
Yeah, it's fascinating how just, these subtle distinctions shape our understanding of a feeling.
Yeah.
So for you, I'm curious what comes to mind when you hear the word happy. What kind of images or experiences does it evoke?
Well, for me, happy often connects to a sense of connection. Sharing a meal with loved ones, laughing with friends, or even just enjoying a quiet moment in nature. Those moments bring a deep sense of contentment and well-being.
That's beautiful. Those personal connections are definitely a key ingredient in happiness for many people, I would say.
Absolutely. And it highlights how, language isn't just about conveying information. It's about sharing our experiences and emotions with others.
All right, so let's move on from feelings to something a little more concrete. Emma and Jack also cover the word big, and they define it as large in size with the example, that is a big house.
Right. And they give synonyms like huge and large. But, here's where things get a little bit interesting. Big can be relative, right?
Yeah, absolutely. A big house in one context might be considered average in another. Think about a skyscraper in a city compared to a farmhouse in the countryside.
Exactly. And big can also have figurative meanings, right? Like describing someone's personality or impact on the world. Like we might say someone has a big heart, or that a certain event was a big deal.
Yes, exactly. So it's not just about physical size anymore. It's about significance, influence, or even emotional depth.
That's right. And that figurative use adds a whole other layer of complexity to the word. It's really pretty fascinating.
And it makes you wonder, how does that word big shape our perception of things? Does it make us pay more attention, feel more impressed, or even intimidated?
That's a good question. I think it definitely can. The word big carries a certain weight, and it can evoke a whole range of emotions, depending on the context.
Well, I'll just keep going with another word from Emma and Jack. They talk about the word fast, which of course means moving quickly.
Yeah, Jack gives the example, the rabbit runs fast. And they mention the synonyms, quick and speedy.
But all those words relate to speed in some way. But I think they also have unique connotations, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. Fast is a very general term, but quick often implies agility and responsiveness. While speedy can suggest efficiency and precision, it's like choosing the right tool for the job.
I love that analogy. It really is. Each word paints a slightly different picture.
Yeah, and thinking about those nuances can really help you choose the most accurate and impactful word for a situation.
Absolutely. So what comes to mind for you when you hear the word fast? What kind of sensory experiences or emotions does it evoke for you?
That's a good question. I think for me, fast often evokes a sense of exhilaration, maybe a bit of adrenaline, like the rush you get from riding a roller coaster or watching a thrilling car chase in a movie.
I can relate to that. There's something inherently exciting about speed and, the feeling of things happening quickly.
Yeah, it definitely taps into our primal instincts, doesn't it? Like that fight or flight response that gets our heart racing and our senses heightened.
Exactly. And it makes you realize how even a simple word like fast can connect to these deeper biological and emotional responses.
It is fascinating how much depth there is to explore in language. even with, the most common words.
Okay, so Emma and Jack then move on to a pair of opposites, starting with the word cold.
Right, which means having a low temperature.
Emma says, I need a jacket because it is cold outside.
And they mention the word chilly.
And this is where those subtle distinctions become very important. It's not just about being cold, it's about the degree of coldness.
Exactly. Chilly suggests a mild coldness, maybe a bit crisp and refreshing. It might make you reach for a light sweater. But cold, on the other hand, implies a more intense coldness that could be uncomfortable or even dangerous.
Yeah, exactly. We could even go further down the spectrum towards like freezing or frigid, each evoking a more extreme level of cold.
And those nuances are really crucial for painting a vivid picture for your listener or reader. Imagine telling a story about a character lost in a snowstorm. Using frigid instead of just cold instantly creates a more visceral and dramatic experience for the audience.
That's a great point. It's about using the right word to evoke the right feeling and create that stronger impact.
Exactly, and it just highlights the importance of having a rich vocabulary so you have a wider range of options to choose from.
Now, of course, you can't talk about cold without mentioning its opposite, hot.
Right, having a high temperature.
Emma and Jack give the cautionary example. Be careful. The coffee is hot. And they also mention warm.
And just like with cold, we have a spectrum of words to describe different levels of heat. Warm suggests a pleasant, comfortable heat, while hot can imply something that's uncomfortable or potentially dangerous.
Right. We could escalate to words like boiling or scorching, which evoke intense heat and often have negative connotations.
Yeah, it is interesting how, those more extreme words often carry a sense of danger or discomfort.
It probably goes back to our primal instincts again. We're hardwired to avoid things that could harm us. So those words trigger a sense of caution or even fear.
That makes sense. It's like our language has evolved to help us navigate the world and stay safe.
Okay, let's switch gears a bit to a word that suggests movement and energy. Emma and Jack talk about run defined as to move quickly on your feet.
Yeah, with the example, the children run in the park.
And they mention jog, a word that implies a slower, steadier pace. But what I find interesting is how run can also be used figuratively. We talk about running a business, running for office, or even running away from a problem.
Yeah, that's a great observation. That figurative use really adds a whole new dimension to the word. It's not just about physical movement anymore. It's about taking action, being in control, or even escaping a situation.
Exactly. And it just shows how language can be so flexible and adaptable, taking on new meanings and connotations over time.
It's like language is constantly evolving and growing along with us, reflecting our changing experiences and perspectives.
So from action, let's move to aesthetics. Emma and Jack cover the word beautiful.
Meaning very nice to look at.
With the example, the flowers are beautiful.
And they give the words pretty and lovely.
Ah, beauty. A concept that's so subjective but also universally appealing. It's interesting to think about how those three words, beautiful, pretty, and lovely, each evoke a slightly different kind of beauty.
You're right. Pretty often suggests a delicate, charming kind of beauty, while lovely might imply something more graceful and elegant. And beautiful, well, that feels like the ultimate compliment, conveying a sense of awe and admiration.
I agree. Beautiful feels more profound and enduring, while pretty and lovely might be more fleeting impressions.
Yeah, I like how you put that. It's like beautiful captures something deeper and more meaningful than just surface level attractiveness. It makes you wonder, what are the qualities or experiences that make something truly beautiful to us?
That's a great question. I think true beauty often goes beyond the visual and speaks to something deeper within us. A sense of harmony, inspiration, or even a spiritual connection.
I love that perspective. It's like beauty is something we feel as much as we see.
Exactly. And finally, Emma and Jack wrap things up with a word that's all about connection friend.
Defined as someone you like and spend time with.
Emma's personal example is, Emma is my best friend, and they also mention buddy and pal. Now, this word is so simple, yet it holds so much significance in our lives, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. Friendship is one of the most fundamental human needs, essential for our well-being and happiness. And it is interesting to consider how those three words, friend, buddy, and pal, each evoke a slightly different kind of relationship.
Yeah, I'm curious to hear your take on that. What do you think are the subtle differences between those terms?
Well, for me, friend feels like the most encompassing term. It suggests a bond of mutual affection, trust, and shared experiences. Buddy has a more casual, lighthearted connotation, often used for someone you enjoy hanging out with or doing activities with. And pal feels almost nostalgic, like a term from a bygone era that evokes a sense of camaraderie and loyalty.
Wow, I love those insights. It really is amazing how even a simple word like friend can have such a rich tapestry of meanings and associations.
It really speaks to the power of language to capture the nuances of human relationships.
So we've covered a lot of ground here, exploring words that relate to emotions, actions, descriptions, and even our social connections. What's standing out to you so far?
Well, what's fascinating to me is how these seemingly basic words, hold so much depth and complexity. It's like we're peeling back the layers of an onion, revealing new insights and connections with each word we examine.
I agree. It's a good reminder that language is such a powerful tool for understanding ourselves and the world around us.
And that even the most common words can unlock world of meaning. And wonder if we just take the time to really explore them.
It's like we're on this linguistic treasure hunt, uncovering all these hidden gems in the words we use every day.
Yeah, exactly. And the best part is that this journey's just beginning. The more we delve into language, the more we realize how much there is to discover.
So true. It really is a lifelong exploration and one that I think can be incredibly rewarding. Now, before we wrap up, I want to touch on something that Emma and Jack emphasize in their episode. The importance of active learning. They encourage listeners to use these new words in their own sentences and conversations.
Yeah, and that's such a crucial point. Simply knowing the definition of a word isn't enough. To really make it part of your vocabulary, you need to actively use it, experiment with it, and see how it fits into, your own unique communication style.
Yeah, it's like learning to play an instrument. You can read all the music theory books in the world, but until you actually pick up the instrument and start practicing, those notes won't come to life.
That's a great analogy. It's about taking those words off the page and making them sing.
Exactly. And the more you practice, the more confident and fluent you'll become in using those words.
Yeah, it's like building a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. And the stronger your vocabulary, the more effectively you can communicate your thoughts, ideas, and feelings.
So for our listeners out there, how can they put this into practice? What are some fun and engaging ways to incorporate these new words into their daily lives?
Well, one thing I always recommend is to create your own examples using the words you've learned. Don't just rely on the examples provided in dictionaries or textbooks. Challenge yourself to come up with unique and creative ways to use those words in your own writing and conversations.
Yeah, that's a great tip. It forces you to really think about the word's meaning and how it can be applied in different contexts.
Exactly. And it helps you, develop a deeper understanding of the word and its nuances.
Another fun activity is to play word games or do crossword puzzles. They're a great way to, test your vocabulary and learn new words in a playful and engaging way.
Absolutely. And those activities often, expose you to words you might not encounter in your everyday conversations.
Yeah.
Further expanding your vocabulary and challenging your thinking.
Yeah, it's like a mental workout for your language skills.
Precisely. And just like any workout, consistency is key. The more you engage with language, the more it will become a natural and enjoyable part of your life.
Now, before we move on to our final thoughts, I want to touch on something we discussed earlier, the figurative use of words. It's something that Emma and Jack don't really delve into in their episode, but I think it's really crucial for anyone who wants to, take their vocabulary to the next level.
Yeah, I completely agree. Figurative language adds such richness and depth to our communication. It allows us to express ourselves in more creative and impactful ways.
Exactly. It's like adding spices to a dish. It elevates the flavor and makes it more interesting and memorable.
What a great analogy.
Yeah.
And just like with spices, the key is to use figurative language judiciously. A little bit can go a long way in adding color and vibrancy to your communication, but too much can be overwhelming or even confusing.
Yeah, I think that's a great point to keep in mind. It's all about finding that right balance and using figurative language in a way that, enhances your message and resonates with your audience.
Absolutely. It's a skill that takes practice and refinement, but the rewards are definitely worth the effort.
So as we wrap up this, exploration of everyday vocabulary, what key takeaways would you like our listeners to remember?
Well, first and foremost, I hope they've gained a newfound appreciation for the power and beauty of language, even in its simplest forms.
That's a beautiful sentiment, It's like we've rediscovered the magic of words that we might have taken for granted before.
Exactly. And I hope our listeners have been inspired to, approach language with a sense of curiosity and wonder, always seeking to expand their vocabulary and refine their communication skills.
I think that's a perfect takeaway. It's about embracing language as a lifelong journey of learning and discovery.
And realizing that, even small steps can lead to big changes in how we communicate and connect with others.
It's been so interesting, exploring the hidden depths of these simple words.
It really is amazing how much we can learn about, ourselves and the world around us just by paying closer attention to the language that we use every day.
Yeah, it's like language is a mirror reflecting our thoughts, feelings, and experiences.
And by, expanding our vocabulary and refining our communication skills, we can create a clearer and, more vibrant reflection of who we are.
Oh, I love that metaphor. It's like we're polishing the mirror so we can see ourselves and the world more clearly.
Exactly. And, that clarity allows us to connect with others on a deeper level, express ourselves more authentically, and navigate the complexities of life with greater confidence.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with a final thought to ponder. We've talked about the power of simple words and the importance of active learning, but I think there's another layer to consider, the emotional resonance of words.
That's a great point. Words have the power to, evoke strong emotions, both positive and negative.
Yeah, exactly. Think about the word love, for instance. It,
Yeah.
conjures up these feelings of warmth, joy, and connection. Or the word hate, which can, trigger feelings of anger, fear, and disgust.
And those emotional responses can vary so much depending on, our personal experiences and associations with those words. What evokes a positive feeling in one person might trigger a negative reaction in another.
That's so true. It's like language is this tapestry woven from our individual experiences and perspectives.
And that tapestry is constantly evolving as we encounter new words, ideas, and experiences.
So, dear listener, I encourage you to continue exploring the emotional landscape of language. Pay attention to the words that resonate with you, the ones that evoke joy, curiosity, or a sense of wonder.
And don't be afraid to experiment with new words and expressions, finding the ones that best capture, your unique voice and perspective.
After all, language is a gift. It's a tool for connection, expression, and growth.
So use it wisely,
Mm.
use it boldly, and use it to create a world that is more beautiful, more compassionate, and more understanding.
Until next time, keep diving deep.